think of Sri Ramakrishna and pray for the well-being of the whole humanity. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Sthavakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Sthavakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Pratyorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. In the last class, we have dealt with the subject, guard yourself from octopus. The ideas taken from the gospel, we discussed that subject in the last two classes. Today I am taking the topic conquering of self. Vedanta means realizing our true self. Self in the lower case, it is referred to mind, non-spiritual mind is self with lower case. Self with the upper case, capital S, it refers to the Atman. It refers to the pure mind. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, pure mind is Atman. So every being has two selves. One is higher self and the other lower self. They are quite distinct and their function also quite distinct. One leads towards bondage, another leads towards liberation. One keeps you in suffering, the other one keeps you in perpetual bliss. There is distinct contrast between the lower self and the higher self. In Vedanta, it is made very clear that we should seek the higher self. That means the true self, knowing which you will be feeling, experiencing your nature of freedom. Till then, even though you are free, yet you don't feel that way. You feel you are bound. You feel you are passing through all sufferings, all problems, because you are identifying yourself with the lower self. So, people encounter problems and sufferings on account of the dominance of the lower self. Lower self is very, very active. I should say it is hyperactive. So, the whole world is going on account of this hyperactivity of the lower self. People lose proper thinking. People cannot analyze in the right way. And people get attached to the pleasures of the world. So, that's what is happening. So Vedanta tells you clearly, look, you have to have clear understanding of the lower self and the higher self. So our struggle should be to weaken the lower self and strengthen the higher self. Lower self has become terribly strong. The higher self is almost non-existent. It is in dormant position. It is there, but it is not able to manifest on account of the dominance of the lower self. Why the situation was created that way? Who made the lower self hyperactive? Of course, we can't find the root cause of all this, only they just explain it. It is just the ignorance, nothing else. The whole thing is dumped into the bag of ignorance. All this suffering is because of ignorance. Where there is ignorance, there is darkness. So, bring the light of knowledge, the darkness will be dispelled. So, this we have to understand. Even to have this approach, you must have spiritual aptitude. Unless you have that aptitude in yourself, you will not be able to distinguish between lower self and higher self. And for the slightest pretext, you just slip into lower self. Slightest provocation is enough to drown the person in the activities of the lower self. That's what is happening throughout the world. In spite of all religion, in spite of all spiritual masters and incarnations, saints and sages coming again and again, warning us, reminding us, teaching us. Sri Ramakrishna was explaining in the gospel the higher self and the lower self. What is that? He explains it giving an example of catching the fish. In olden days, now we have got modern methods of catching the fish. But in olden days, particularly in villages, they would catch the fish by adopting a particular way. They would take a bamboo pole, one end of the bamboo pole is fastened in the ground, The other end is bent over with a catch. From this end, a line with a hook hangs over the water with bait tied to the hook. Fish always is running after in the water. You must see. It will be continuously moving in a fast way. Jumping, moving. Terrible movement you can watch because the fish is always in search of food. Immediately it wants to grab the food wherever it is available. So here is the bait. Immediately fish comes and swallows the bait. As soon as it does that, suddenly the bamboo jumps up and regains its upright position. Another example is given. Take a pair of scales. If a weight is placed on one side, the lower needle moves away from the upper one. The lower needle is the lower self, and the upper one, higher self, Atman or God. The meeting of the two is yoga. Unless the mind becomes steady, there cannot be yoga. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Why the mind is not steady? It is because the wind of worldliness is disturbing the mind. Wind of worldliness, which may be likened to a candle flame. If that flame doesn't move at all, then one is said to have attained yoga. Now, what are the main activities of the lower self, obstructing the way of yoga? Everybody wants to be a yogi, no doubt. But tremendous obstruction, hurdle is there. Unless you take steps to get over that, you can't be a yogi even though you want it sincerely. What is that great obstruction to yoga? Sri Ramakrishna has said number of times, every page he says, it is lust and gold. Lust means desire to enjoy. That is lust. Desire to enjoy, desire. Insatiable desire. You can't satisfy it. The more you enjoy, the more you want. So in a way, by constantly enjoying days, months, years, from the youth up to the old age, even up to the point of death, I may say, people keep on the enjoyment. So, in that process, they have allowed themselves to become addict to sense pleasures. They can't get away from it. One person had come here. He met me and he wanted to ask a question. I said, all right, please ask. He said, Swamiji, I don't know. I am terribly disturbed by this dreadful passion. Then I asked the question, why you have got family, is it not? He said, yes, I have got family, but I am not satisfied. I'm not satisfied. So if I walk on the street, I keep on looking and looking and looking, aimlessly, endlessly, keep on looking the people walking in the street. And my mind is simply running after them, and I feel disgusted. I feel totally helpless, and I have become hopeless, and I feel terribly disgusted. Is there any method? He knows the problem. He knows he doesn't like it, but still he can't get out of it because it has become addiction. Because he has continuously done, as I said, not only in this birth, previous births, many births, every year, every birth doing the same thing. So that's the problem. So that is a great obstruction. Unless you take steps to remove that obstacle, how can you even expect to become a yogi? Theoretically, you may call yourself a yogi. There are many people who call themselves yogi. We have got many books. Every now and then we see a new book coming, Yogi. There's one in Atlanta, he calls himself Yogi Hari. In fact, I have seen him. I have seen that person, Yogi. He's a family man. He looks most ordinary. There is no indication of any yoga in him. What he means is Hatha Yoga. Of course, he has got that feature, having a beard and little makeup. But that's not religion, and that won't take you to the higher self, and you will not be able to conquer the lower self. Unless you conquer the lower self, you can't get into the beauty of the higher self, and you can't expect peace or bliss. So Sri Ramakrishna says these are the main obstacles. Desire, awful desire to enjoy the pleasures, to enjoy these objects of the senses. That's the meaning of lust. And terrible desire to get more and more gold. They are connected. In fact, they are binding the person. They won't allow the person to go towards God. Both are terrible bonds. One is passion, another is gold. Even though they earn a lot of money, but they are extremely unhappy in the mind. I read in the internet a few days back, the famous superstar of India, his name Rajkumar, a very good person, good actor. He was abducted by a robber in the forest, a brigand. He is a terrible person. It looks foolish to even to think that how that robber is able to pull on himself, even though two governments were trying to nab him. One is Tamil Nadu government and this Karnataka government. They could not catch him. That fellow has killed 170 people so far. And all the police officers have been killed ruthlessly, brutally. And he changes his place every day about 20 times, because he knows the nook and corner of the whole forest. It's a big, dense forest. One belongs to Tamil Nadu, another belongs to Karnataka. And he's moving like that, harassing the people. He was a smuggler, sandalwood smuggler. Nobody could catch. Or the police have become so useless. So the court immediately ordered, it is not worth the government to allow the robber to thrive like that. But then the effort they made so much to release him. Finally, the Karnataka government has collected donations from the industries and companies, 72 crores, to give that rascal in order to get release of the Rajkumar. Well, that fellow is he happy? That robber, constantly moving. What is the use of that money? And his health also is not good. He is having asthma, breathing problem. And afterwards I read another news item in Karnataka state itself. There's another, a very big guy, the internet explorer who has got a very big company, who has become very famous all over the world. And he has got his own bungalow in a place, and he's well known, and people all know he's the richest man, and he's having tremendous security. They call Z security, Z. It is the topmost security. Always the army people will be there surrounding in home. Whenever he moves out, the army will be going to mufti. What kind of life is that? What kind of joy he is having? What kind of peace he can expect? That's the way how the gold pushes the man. In a way, they push the man to ruin. That means he loses all the human values. He becomes brutal, cruel, crooked, wicked, whatever name you may call. Rakshasa, to put in one word. He becomes Rakshasa. Nara Rakshasa. Rakshasa in the form of human being. How many Nara Rakshasas are there now in the world today? That's why we are feeling so much of crime, violence. Innocent people are being harassed, killed. Children are being killed, kidnapped. All this is because power, position, name, fame, passion, gold. How true it is, but still how people are rushing madly, how they have become mad on account of these things. So, always analyze what you see. Sri Ramakrishna says that. That's his instruction. What is there in the body of a beautiful person? Do you analyze it? You find only such things as blood, flesh, fat, entrails, and the like. Why should one love such a body? Why? The mind of the yogi is always fixed on God, always absorbed in the true self. He can recognize such a person by merely looking at him. His eyes are wide open, like the eyes of mother bird hatching her eggs. Her entire mind is fixed on the eggs, and there is a vacant look in her eyes. Same way, the yogi's mind also. It is fixed on the higher self. And Sri Ramakrishna tells very clearly, one must practice sadhana to know God. One must also adopt a particular attitude towards God, the attitude of a servant towards his master. The attitude of a jnani is to manifest on one's own self. In another place, Sri Ramakrishna explains what is Maya. It is nothing but lust and gold. A person attains yoga when he has freed his mind from these two. The self, the supreme self, capital S, self, is a magnet. The individual self, the lower self, is the needle. The individual self experiences the state of yoga when it is attracted by the Supreme Self to itself. But the magnet cannot attract the needle if the needle is covered with clay. It can draw the needle only when the clay is removed. And Sri Ramakrishna points out that clay is the clay of lust and gold. That must be removed. It's very simple. But you have to practice. One cannot realize God without being guileless and liberal-minded. One cannot be guileless and liberal-minded unless one is free from worldliness. If a person is worldly, he is bound to be selfish. He is bound to be narrow-minded. The master sang a song where he explains, you will attain that priceless treasure when your mind is free from stain. You cannot make a pot without first carefully preparing the clay. The pot will crack if the clay contains particles of sand or stone. That's why the potter first prepares the clay by removing the sand and stones. If a mirror is covered with dirt, it won't reflect one's face. One can't realize his true self. One can't realize his higher self unless his heart is pure. You will find guilelessness wherever God incarnates himself as man. The Vedanta says that a man doesn't even desire to know God unless he has a pure mind. One cannot be guileless and liberal-minded without much austerity, or unless it is one's last birth. And Sri Ramakrishna then tells in a very decided way, let me assure you that one can realize his inner self through sincere prayer. But to the extent that he has the desire to enjoy worldly objects, his vision of the self becomes obstructed. So, that's all the thing that we need to know. We are just being dominated by the lower self, so we are having endless problems, endless difficult situations, endless crises. should awaken ourselves. We should get awaken ourselves. And we must be struggling very hard to raise ourselves from that morbid condition. That's what Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. Uddhared atmanatmanam, atmanam avasadayet. Uddhared atmanatmanam. You have to raise yourself. You must raise yourself to the higher self. You must discard. You must make the lower self inactive. That means spiritual life means is a conscious life. You must be conscious every moment about how your mind behaves and acts, and you must take immediate steps to correct them. So, weakening the lower self has to be done on one side, strengthening the higher self is to be done on the other side. Both these are to be done, and in order to do that, one must have strong desire to realize God or to realize his own true self. So, this is the introduction for my talk, Conquering of Self, which I would be dealing the same subject in the next Tuesday class. Page 674. Master said to Bankim, there are some who do not want to dive. They say, won't we become deranged if we go to excess about God? Referring to those who are intoxicated with divine love, they say, these people have lost their heads, but they don't understand that simple thing. God is the ocean of Amrit, immortality. Once I said to Narendra, suppose there were a cup of syrup and you were a fly, where would you sit to drink the syrup? Narendra said, I would sit on the edge of the cup and stretch out my neck to drink it. Why? I asked. What's the harm of plunging into the middle of the cup and drinking the syrup? Narendra answered, then I should stick in the syrup and die. My child, I said to him, that is not the nature of the nectar of Satchidananda. It is the nature of immortality. Man doesn't die from diving into it. On the contrary, he becomes immortal. Therefore I say, dive deep. Don't be afraid. By diving deep in God, one becomes immortal. Bankim bowed low before the master. He was about to take his leave. Bankim said, Sir, I am not such an idiot. I am not such an idiot as you may think. I have a prayer to make. Please be kind enough to grace my house with the dust of your holy feet. Master said, that's nice, I shall go if God wills. Bankim, there too you will see devotees of God. Master, smiling, how so? What kind of devotees are they? Are they like those who said Gopala, Gopala, Keshava, Keshava? It's a beautiful story. All laugh. A devotee asked, what's the story of Gopal, sir? Master said smilingly, let me tell you. At a certain place, there is a goldsmith shop. The workers there are known as pious Vaishnavas. They have strings of beads around their necks, religious marks on their foreheads and bags containing rosaries in their hands. They repeat the names of God aloud. One can almost call them sadhus. Only they have to work as goldsmiths to earn their bread and support their wives and children. Many customers, hearing of their piety, come to the shop because they believe that in that shop there will be no trickery with their gold or silver. When the customers enter the shop, they see the workers repeating the name of Hari with their tongues and doing their work with their hands. No sooner do the customers take seats in the shop than one of the workers cries out, Keshava, Keshava, Keshava. A few minutes later, another says, Gopal, Gopal, Gopal. After they talk a little while, the third man cries out, Hari, Hari, Hari. In the meantime, the customers have almost finished their transactions. Then the fourth exclaims, Hara, Hara, Hara. The customers are very much impressed with the devotees and fervor of the owners and feel themselves quite secure in handing them the money. They are sure they won't be cheated. But do you know what lies behind all this? The man who says Keshav, Keshav after the arrival of the customers means who are they? It has got double meaning. Keshava is the name of the Lord, and also Keshava means who are they? K means who. In other words, he wants to know how intelligent they are. The man who says Gopal, Gopal means to say he finds them no better than a herd of cows. Gopal is the name of the Lord, and also it means herd of cows. The man saying Hari, Hari means may I rob them? That's the meaning of Hari. Hari is also the name of Lord. It has a double meaning. He suggests that since they are like a herd of cows, they can be robbed. And the last man who says Hari, Hari replies, yes, rob them. He means that since the customers are like a herd of cows, they can certainly be robbed. Here too, you see a group of pious men very much devoted to God. All laugh. Bankim took his leave, but he was absent-minded. When he reached the door, he discovered that he had dropped his shawl in the room. He was in his shirt sleeves. A gentleman handed him his shawl. Of the devotees at Adhar's house, Sharat and Sanyal were Brahmins, but Adhar belonged to the lower caste of the goldsmiths, and so the two Brahmins quickly left, lest they should be pressed by their host to take their meal there. Sharat and Sanyal had been coming to the master only a short time and did not know how fond the master was of Adhar. The master used to say that the devotees formed a separate caste by themselves. Among them there could be no caste distinction. Adhar entertained the master and the devotees with a feast. It was quite late in the evening when the devotees returned home, cherishing in their hearts the image of the master in his spiritual ecstasy and remembering his words of great wisdom. Since Bankim had invited Sri Ramakrishna to visit his home, the master a few days later sent Girish and M to his Calcutta residence. At that time, Bankim had a long discussion with these two devotees about the master. He told them that he wanted to visit Sri Ramakrishna again, but his desire was not fulfilled. That concludes chapter 34. Next Tuesday I will be beginning chapter 35. Very good. Any questions? I was taking some class in some devotee's home, and one of them asked a question, "Sir, what are you saying is understandable, it's convincing, and we definitely it is true. It's all easy to say." But really very difficult to do it. It is true. So what does it mean? Do you mean to say because it is easy we can't do it? We should not do it? Even though it is difficult, you should do it if you want to get the proper result. So that is the condition we are facing. Even those who are struggling in religion, they feel they want to be real seekers, but the pull of the world is so great, and they can't do anything. It pulls them immediately. Even though they come, they attend satsang, they participate in the pujas, they visit temples, they do everything. But immediately they are pulled back with tremendous force. That's the condition. Anyway, I will discuss this matter in great detail in the next class. Very interesting. I should not exhaust the whole thing in the same class. Yeah. Any question? Yeah, of course that's true. But that's what Lord Krishna said. I quoted that Uddaret Atmanatmanam. But you have to struggle to lift your mind. Unless you struggle, it will be in the same condition, or it may go worse also. So every birth, we are taking the mind downwards. That's the problem. Suppose you have passed through 500,000 births, 500,000 times you have put the mount downwards. And to rise up, how much struggle you have to make. And sometimes you get frustration. Is it ever possible for me to get over this? You get frustration also. But that's why I always stress upon this point that we should have philosophy of life. If your life is not supported by philosophy, you will end up with frustration. And sincere effort should be there, undoubtedly. As I said, you must be every moment conscious of what way the mind is running and doing things, contrary to spiritual ways. And you must take immediate steps to correct them. That's what I mean to say. So Vedanta becomes easy only when you put your whole attention upon the sadhana part of it. Sadhana part. It is true, everybody has got sattva. And as I said, that higher self is every constant fighting. So that's why we prescribe so many methods
so many ways. Methods are there, ways are there, but you should make a strong will to go that way. Though God has provided everything, still why we are not going towards God? Because there is no will. Because that, as I said, there is a desire for enjoyment. So as long as the desire is there in the mind, it doesn't allow you to go upward. It doesn't allow you. Even though at times you try to stand up, immediately you collapse. Because the weight of the lower mind is so great, it just makes you drop flat. That's the. Any more question? But we must know the truth. That's why these things are to be thought of constantly. Constantly. So mind is everything. He conquers all who conquers self. Swami Vivekananda says in the Song of Sannyasi, he conquers all who conquers self. Conquering yourself is the real conquering. Once you conquer that self, you become fearless, you become peaceful, you become blissful. It's a extremely peaceful state. That's what we saw when Alexander the Great was plundering all the countries and returning home with lots of wealth plundered from all the people. A huge army. He was returning back to his home. On the way he saw a saint sitting on the rock in the Kashmir area. And he approached that saint and he found that saint was remarkably peaceful and there was no trace of fear, and he could feel that by seeing the personality. And he began to ask questions and he answered, and he was convinced by his wisdom. And then a desire came to him, Alexander. Well, you are a great person, you are a great saint of great wisdom. Such people should live in my country. You come to my place, come to my palace. I'll give separate home for you. All facilities will be given. You don't have to cook also. There will be cook. There will be servants. They take care of you. Just be there, and your presence is important for us. He began to coax him. But the saint said, well, why do you disturb me? I am peaceful here. You should have to come there. I don't need to go anywhere because I don't want anything. So in spite of Alexander persisting him, he held on to his own position. He said, no, he is not coming there. Then he began to threaten. He thought he has plundered so many countries and he has become great by conquering all, killing all people, and he thought he can kill the saint also. So he began to draw the sword and threatened him. Look, do you know who I am speaking? I am the king, Alexander the Great. If you don't come, do you know what I will do? He told in a very fearful way. Even before cutting off his head, probably the man would have died. But this saint was laughing. When Alexander told like that, he laughed. What? What foolishly you are talking about? Me you kill. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha nachiram gladiyantyapo nashoseti mahantaha. Me the swords cannot cut, wind cannot blow, water cannot wet. I am immortal, I am deathless. You are killing this body. Let it go. I don't care for this body. Do you think I am caring for this body? He told in such a way, Alexandrian got tremendous transformation. His eyes opened for the first time. He got an awakening. Here is a real saint who is not afraid of anything. He had heard the story, a God man is fearless, but he is seeing now actually. This has been recorded, and this record Swami Vivekananda found out in some library when he visited in the West, in the Greece. This was quoted by Swami Vivekananda in his talks. It has happened, it is not a fiction. So a person whose higher self is strengthened, he is not afraid of anything. There is no question of slipping down anymore. It's a state of perfect purity, desireless, totally desireless. We shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my assuredness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no honor to thyself, give honor to all, chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years. When my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrated at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt. For thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous reign tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.